it's very short-minded to think that what you create just belongs to you to show off and after to have a light and pretend that you are a genius. There is something in copyright. I understand why it has been done, but there are other models possible and that we didn't explore them. And it takes time to convince people that everything that we are creating, we are giving up to humanity for the progress of humanity. And that is very short-minded to think just about ourselves, a group of people. We are much more than just a group of people. The artist ego is overrated.
Welcome to AI Ketchup, the podcast catching up with the tech products that matter in the AI era.
Hi, Jean.
Hi, Elena. How are you?
Doing good. I'm very glad to welcome you at the AI Ketchup podcast. We are decoding the journeys to found AI startups and run the research in the space. I'm the host, Elena, and today I'm joined by Jean Arnaud, an AI digital innovation leader who previously co-founded Nova, which has beautifully combined research, academia, and industry. He has also pioneered an interesting concept of digital renaissance that we will dive into a bit later in the podcast. And he's currently actively working on an interesting place, which is having different locations, namely Aethos. And it is a center of gravity that has started in Cambridge, as far as I recall, and currently is expanding into different countries. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you and to have the chance to discuss about my journey. My journey is interesting because I did a lot of things. Sometimes it's more inspiring than what I built for reals. And because I have this variety in my all curriculum, I think people can find something to reflect on for their own journey.
Very true, because you are definitely staying in my mind as the person who is rather contrarian to AI space, because you've been teaching philosophy in France, UK, and also in the US. And then currently you are an AI founder. So how has this happened? And what was the point when you have realized that, well, I want to start working with artificial intelligence?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I'm coming from the academia, and thanks to my versatile education, I had many interests from my childhood because my mother wanted to have a son who is able to be a man of Renaissance. So she taught me how to ride a horse, how to fence, how to read literature. She was really in literature, so she put me in a book every week in my hand to read, and very different type of book, novel, poetry. My father is in history, completely in ancient history. He was telling me all these myth, Greek myth and Latin myth. So I started to be interested by everything. I am ADHD also, so probably it plays in my all activities that I have. I am always hyperactive. I need to have like several projects, and I needed to find a structure in this to finish the project, because this is a problem of ADHD. You start and you never finish. So I needed to be disciplined, and I think like the way I learned to be disciplined was part. But to come back to your question, I was in education almost all my life, and for the simple reason, and I think that's very important because this is a part of my life. I'm coming from a family, from an Italian family, and they were immigrants, so they were workers. They didn't have like the chance to study very much. And my mother had the chance because of my grandparents who made a lot of sacrifices to be in the best school in France. It is an elite school. It's called l'École Normale Supérieure. And it's kind of very difficult to have, like it's the equivalent of Harvard or this kind of schools in USA. And I had this great education from my parents because they were very intellectual, but because my grandparents sacrificed themselves. So in my family, education is the way to access to something else, to change your destiny, right? And it was very value in my family, in my entire family, because we all believe that knowledge is a key for freedom. So this cannot happen without education. I was in education, and I still believe in the mission that you need to spread the knowledge and educate people when you had the chance, when you had the privilege to be educated yourself. because I believe that the next generation we build the future, and we need as adults to prepare them to build this future and to give them the keys to build it. So that was my main pillar. But I was not always in education. I was also at the same time in art. I was doing music a lot. I had a band. It was a rock band. I played through the whole world with this band. We are on Spotify. We were playing in United States, in Brazil, in Japan, in all these countries. So it was extraordinary experience in art. I was writing books, also poetry, a lot of poetry. And I had also business from the very beginning. So first of all, the band was a business in itself. And I have these three pillars: education, art in general, literature, music, and poetry. And I would include also philosophy in this. And the third pillar is definitely entrepreneurship. And so what was the central point that made the bridge with technology? Because I was not in technology. So I ended up randomly in Stanford, and there I learned a lot. It was really transformative for me. So the professors there, but also the students, the way they were seeing technology, and even the philosophy, the state of mind, everything changed me completely. So first of all, I thought that I was smart because I had a great education, all these diplomas and all of this. And I'm coming at Stanford and I see that I really felt like an old man, but I was young. And they all had this incredible vision for the future and how to build the future with all this technology. And I was so incompetent to not only understand technology, but also to have the vision of the future, because our system in France was really done about theory, having ideas, but not about build them. When you have ideas, it's enough. It's like a game. There is a beauty in this. It's about deepen yourself through discussion, but you don't need to embody them. But for an American, this doesn't make sense. If you have ideas, you need to implement them. And for me, the state of mind was really different. The risk taking also. I'm coming from a country where you don't take risk, and everything, it needs to be very calculated. And I saw these people betting each time that they saw an idea that was interesting. So this whole state of mind, using technology and philosophy to create a new world, for me was so interesting that it has been a first way for me to change and to say, oh, okay, so technology can serve an idea, but also an ideal. And I saw that was missing in California in general. So people, they create a lot for fun also, not just for money, but a lot for fun. But they never think about the big picture. So they have this philosophy that can be built for the future, but they never have this big picture and build the technology for this big picture. So they have technology, they have philosophy, they all think to the future, but they never create this bridge between both of it. And this, I think, was missing. So I thought how I could use this experience at Stanford to build myself something innovative, but also meaningful. And I really wanted to have an impact with what I was doing. So I started to build, I would say, a traditional business. It was an online school, and this online school didn't really work, except that the COVID happened. So that was a good circumstances for me to have more students, more and more students. And I needed to be innovative because the experience on Zoom was not enjoyable, right? So I started to ask myself how I could still be in education, develop some courses that are very interesting, but also very hands-on, and how we can learn by being active and using technology. And this is where Nova came, because the first mission of Nova in the first version that I had was to create virtual environments, interactive environments, powered also by AI. And you could have a teacher in a live class in this digital environment, metaverse and all of this, and have some persona like Julius Caesar, and you could speak with him. So it was already the vision of having an AI that is embodied and with who you can talk. But it was not only this. You could also have another teacher, a kind of assistant that could help the kid to whatever he wanted. Like, for example, he doesn't understand something and the AI could help him to understand. So the project was really visionary. Because I didn't have the skills really in technology, I needed to be surrounded by people. And being surrounded by people, I started to learn. So this is how the bridge between education and technology.
Is actually Nova running now?
We changed. We have MVP. We're not on the market, but we changed our mind because we saw that our first version with the metaverse and all of this was not accepted in the schools because of data privacies. And I tried some pilot projects, and we did it in several schools. And I saw that it was really a problem for massive adoption in schools. Me being from education and not being able to implement this in the schools I had a very, very good relationship with was kind of red flags, right? And also we talked to a lot of VCs, and VCs was like, oh yeah, we're like, oh yeah, it's very interesting vision and all of this, but you're too in advance. We cannot invest now. We need to see that the market is ready for this. So I was invited to different conferences like SXSW, Harvard, and all of this because the project was visionary, but it was not possible to implement it. And it's still the case right now. It's still too in advance for the market right now. But we pivoted with Nova and we came with this idea that the metaverse and the VR doesn't really grow so fast, but the AI, yes. Yeah, you have a lot of investment in AI. So why we don't reverse the approach? Why we don't start by AI? And we started to think like, what would be the first thing that we will need to have with AI? And we started to think like already as an agent, because the vision of Nova was already an agent, the first version. So we said, and why we don't build a tool for researchers to be sure that a researcher can advance like much faster than what he is doing now. A PhD should be done with AI in 1 year and a half, not more. And how we can be sure that when you search for your literature, you don't need to read during 3 months or 4 months different type of papers where you need one lines. You see, you need to have like access with AI to the best papers related to your subject. For some researchers, you need to have like a tool for patent. You need to format your articles for different magazines, because you already wait 6 months before you know that it will be published or not. It is already long. Sometimes your article is completely obsolete after 6 months. You cannot lose time with formatting your papers for different magazines. So how we could integrate these kind of features to accelerate the research process. And we discovered in our research and with a talk with different researchers from Harvard and MIT that you had a lot of forgery and a lot of misinformation also in the scientific papers. So 10,000 a year, for example, are retracted from magazine. And sometimes they are still quoted by people, which is a problem. So
because it was afterwards. So the paper has gotten published, and then it could have already been referenced, but then
exactly. And it still serves as a reference, but it is retracted paper, for example. And we continue to quote it. You see, so that's for example is a problem. It's a problem of misinformation. So you will tell me yes, but it's not the same at the same scale than misinformation on the internet, and that's true. That's true. But our vision was to serve first the researchers. Yes. We came with Nova. And doing Nova, I met a lot of people from these great universities in Cambridge, and going from accelerators to accelerators where we didn't really find or the people who were interested to invest in us or the people we could work with. So sometimes you have a good investor. I mean, not good because he wants to invest in you, but you feel that they will be not helpful. And this is not the type of investors we wanted. We wanted collaborators. And this is where I met my other co-founders from Ethos, where we had similar problems, I would say, with accelerators, incubators. And we started to feel, and what if we create a place for innovators, for founders, and help them? We will put in common all our contacts. We will help each other with our like different level of understanding, with our journey, and we will help on the business side, on technical side, with our contacts, and we will not make them pay for this. We will operate as a non-profit. And this is when we came with this idea and with this other idea that we could bring together researchers, founders, artists, all these people working in AI, building something or researching something to be at the forefront of innovation. And yeah, this kind of multidisciplinary center.
Yeah, on the one hand, I do see how beautifully you're combining the three pillars that you have described before. So education right now is being in touch with the higher education establishments and also researchers, bringing in the business and entrepreneurship and the openness to new ideas. And then also the third part of what you were describing as, I would probably call it the areas that are unmeasurable, philosophy or art. That is probably something that doesn't fit into boxes or fit into series per se.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking about is that if I would be you, that would be terribly difficult to find the financing for Ethos. So on the one hand, I can imagine that if you are willing to drive nonprofit and if you are willing to, well, enable stakeholders from different sides, this can definitely bring a lot of difference. But at the same time, in the very end, you do need the building. You do need, well, probably GPU resources. How do you tackle that aspect?
Yes.
And how do you, well, probably going through, let's call them rainy days of feeling like that probably happens to each and every business owner. That, well, it feels like it is not moving forward and it feels like, yeah, so I'm stuck somewhere.
Yeah.
How do you deal with those ones?
So your question is really about like how we did the space as a non-profit at the beginning, right? Because the space, especially in Cambridge, right across from MIT, is quite expensive, and you are absolutely right.
Exactly.
So we have been helped in this a lot by sponsors and partners. So the CIC, for example, really believed in the mission. And CIC is, if you don't know, for people who are not from this area, is very close from Boston, and there is just a bridge between Cambridge and Boston. Cambridge, you have many institutions, but I would say that three of them, the main institutions are Harvard, MIT, so two top universities. And you have the CIC, that is another institution, is a co-working space for innovators in general, entrepreneurs. So you have a lot of entrepreneurs in this CIC, and we occupy, I would say, a big space in this co-working space, and it is just for AI innovators. We added a layer to this. We don't take all AI innovators. We take AI innovators who are committed to build responsible solution, because, and this is where philosophy and technology also blend, because we believe again that innovation with purpose, human-centered innovation, can make us flourish and can build also a greater future. So I think we have a mission to build something responsible, to build just a better world, and to participate to a greater good. So we are all mission driven in this aspect. So I think a lot of people believe just in this mission and they supported us. So, or with space, or with money, or with time. And time is very important. So when we have expert mentors who are dedicating their time for the beauty of the mission, it is not only, it is a fire for us also. So as a non-profit, this is a difference with the company. You are fired by the others, while in a company you feel a lot alone. I mean, this is my journey. I always felt alone in creation, especially in art, a little bit less in the companies I created. Even when you have a co-founder, you feel alone. But in this nonprofit, we feel always supported, even when the co-founders are done, because I am not the only one, right? For Ethos, we are 4 co-founders and we have a whole team. We have our members who are playing a big role in this also. So it's really a community all together to build a better future with technology and AI.
And now coming back to what I was trying to say about art and philosophy, I was already saying that it is very difficult to measure. And it is probably similarly difficult for you to define what startup founders you want to get in based on the characteristics that you have described. Probably the people who are technically fit, who want to drive business innovation, but also the ones that are having the clear steps to how to drive social impact. Mm-hmm. So it is super difficult probably to find those ones and choose them. But maybe for the listeners of the podcast, you could say indeed the three things that you are always looking for when the founder approaches you.
So we are searching early stage founders for the simple reason that our space is big but limited also. So we need just the executive people in our office. For this, we need also an MVP. So they need to demonstrate that they started to build something. They know how to build a team. So they are early stage but advanced in some ways. We always ask what are their big vision. And when you ask somebody to draw the big vision, you see if in this vision, there is a real interest for ethics. So when we talk about ethic, it is difficult because there is no universal ethic. There is an ethic that embodies a philosophical vision, and I think we are grounded for our philosophical vision in humanism, right? This idea from Montaigne in 16th century, he says something beautiful. He says that there is no point to have a science without consciousness. And this is exactly what we ask. There is no point to have a technology without consciousness. This is the ethic that we want. We want transparency in the model that we built. Okay, there are always biases. There is no model where you don't have biases, but where you tried with the data that you created, with the training that you had with your AI, that you reduced as much as possible the influence of biases, gender biases, ethnic biases, and all of this. In the big vision, you need to demonstrate that you want to make an impact on this world. So I don't know, some people in our station, they want to fight the pollution, for example, or the waste of energy. And they have an AI to measure this, for example. So this is clearly impactful. So
I believe that you're talking to I believe that you're talking to many founders, and you can also decide on who is joining the incubator and who doesn't. That probably also implies that you should have a certain own benchmark, or to try to measure unmeasurable in terms of ethics, in terms of willingness to do the social impact, in terms of the big vision. So how do you think the companies can define that for themselves, and how they can actually think about responsible AI and ethical aspects of it in some practical terms?
Yeah, so when we do the onboarding process, we always ask if they have a big vision. So through the big vision, you can see if a company is interested by implementing ethical or responsible solutions and how they're doing it technically. So we always have during the interview process business person to understand if the business model is good, a technical person to understand if they implement in the reality the process of an ethical process, or if there is something already present in the MVP, because we always ask for a working MVP when they come in our station. And like this they can determine like the level kind of their ethical approach or ethical solution. But they can also be just committed to do something responsible. And some of them, they are just responsible by essence, right? If you want to solve with AI the I don't know, like the diabetes, to have more accuracy in terms of measurement of insulin and the personal need of this from somebody who is suffering from diabetes. It can help. It's kind of business by essence. You see, when you are in healthcare, you already build something ethical. When you are in education, sometimes also, because or you will come with a solution that is really not good for education, like to replace the learning process instead of extending it or make it grow. But yeah, we have some startups, for example, who are developing an AI agent that helps businesses, governments, foundations, financial institutions, and nonprofits to measure and track the impact of their programs automatically. It's called Nixion. Like what I learned by doing my own company and by working with other founders is that the creation of database is essential, and the way you feed your AI and you do the learning process is essential to reduce biases or to make sure that that the whole process is traceable or transparent. If you use an open source model, for example, the Nixion that we have work on how to assess responsibly, like in any field. It can be in education, it can be in energy waste. For example, Nova, our research tool, for example, can accelerate the research, but also innovation in a more responsible way, and giving access to all verified papers, for example. So all of this is, is a commitment to ethic.
That is also the opinion that I probably would share with you, because I very often hear that, well, AI is amplifying bias, because we obviously have bias in the models. At the same time, that is the bias that we can extrapolate. We can, as you have mentioned, measure, that we can probably target. And when it comes to the bias that is hidden, that is difficult to measure. If we don't have the statistics on the, I will bring the example of maybe gender or race in the hiring department. If we don't track these features, we don't know whether there is any significant statistic correlation between the race and gender when it comes to the decision. At the same time, it involves data. It involves data privacy. It involves tracking the characteristics that might already be problematic or might already bring certain negative feelings in someone. How do you see the aspect of specifically targeting bias when it comes to developing applications?
Yeah,
in terms of
I think
how, yeah.
I'm not a technical person, but what I know is that you can assess a little bit better with AI, ensuring transparency, like how your model has been fed, for example. This type of thing could be a good measurement to assess transparency. For example, we know there was a whole story like recently about the Ghibli studio and how everybody could create this picture of family, you, me, whatever, in the style of Miyazaki, but with a question of the copyright behind. Clearly, you can see that the model of OpenAI have been trained, and that was all the question. How we can know very surely how the OpenAI model has been trained. That this should be, for example, assessed and traceable. We could ask big companies, but also small companies, to be more transparent about what they're doing.
Bringing consciousness into the technology.
Yes. So for example, with Nova, like you can we fed our artificial intelligence with partnership with researchers. You see, we didn't steal from them. But I'm sure that some builders would not maybe care about this. So this is where ethic is coming. This is what we ask from our companies. Yeah.
Because what you mean is that you have been explicitly asking each and every researcher whether this researcher will be accepting the application of AI into their papers.
Yes, absolutely. And I think most of the people are ready to give up of what they did to build tools that are more useful for all the people. I think most of the people are ready to do that, but you need to ask.
I'm not sure whether I would agree that many people are ready for that, especially based on the already existing fact of copyright, of quotes from books. Yeah, Ghibli Studio is a good example of something that hasn't been given with the acceptance, and that is why there is already the objection against, because then you see that, oh, they're using my intellectual property to train their models, but I'm not getting anything out of it.
So I agree with you, but this takes time. You need time to convince people that we are changing era, for example. So I am very doubtful about the idea itself of copyright. Okay. So I think I said it several times in different interviews. I think that what we create belongs to humanity. It's very short-minded to think that what you create just belongs to you, just to show off and after to have light and pretend that you are a genius. While we all know that when we're writing, when we are creating something, it's a myth that we are alone to build something. We're never alone, right? I would say that there is something in copyright. I understand why it has been done. You need to remunerate, especially artists and all of this. It's a part of having money from this. But I think there are potentially other models possible and that we didn't explore them. And it takes time to convince people that everything that we are creating, we are giving up to humanity for the progress of humanity. And that is very short-minded to think just about ourselves, a group of people. We are much more than just a group of people. So I think that when you build for yourself, after you need to think about the humanity. And I think if we were more thinking like this, this wouldn't be a problem.
You're definitely a great visionary, Jean.
You can disagree with me on this. A lot of people disagree with me. But this is what I think.
I don't think I can, even though the mechanisms that we have established are working short term.
Yeah. No, some people, they are saying, for example, for my book, they say, oh, but you would not give up on your book. That's not true. I would completely give up on my right if there is another manner to pay my time. And if not, I mean, I would find a solution to still write my book. I don't write first for people. I write first for me, and after, when I feel liberated, I give this to people. But it is for people to change it. It will not. It's an occasion for them to transform themselves and to be creator themselves. We always see art from the artist side, but never from people. We always say, oh, and what if this painting would have been changed over time? If it doesn't change the things that it produces on people and what they will do with that, I don't see any problem, for example, with that. But it is a problem if you consider that the artist is here to shine, to be over the other people and to be admired and all of this. If you change the look over the artist, which is first deepen yourself to create the best piece from all the strengths that you accumulated in yourself and deepen in yourself, and you give that to humanity, this is really the most beautiful gift that you can give to somebody. And from these people, they will transform it, but for themselves. But the piece of art is just this bridge between these two souls, or these multiple souls and the artist soul. I think, yeah, the artist ego is overrated.
And generally, when you're describing this, when I'm also reflecting on what ownership has meant, what it means, and what it probably will mean, it has definitely had very, very different meaning behind it. When I take just the example of our grandparents' generation, our parents and us right now, it was the property. Previously, we all owned our own property, and no one could have imagined that something like Airbnb would be there. Then the aspects was whatever we think about cryptocurrency, but the fact of willing to have additional trust going through the decentralized network that will also help us enforce our ownership instead of relying on the traditional banking system. Probably there will be a new stage also in the AI.
So you're coming exactly to the point, which means that the whole Web3 is coming with a total new philosophy of the word. It's completely different of our property-based system to a collective system and a collaborative system. The best example is all the crowdfunding. The crowdfunding is in many cases, when you have a early stage startup, replacing the traditional VCs round, the pre-seed round and all of this, or the bootstrap that we in general at the beginning. And what does it mean? It means that you are supported by people, and after you give back to people. We get out from this also fake illusion, because this is the same myth with entrepreneur than with the artist. Like, you have this feeling that Elon Musk is a genius, but without the other people, who is Elon Musk? With all the people who built with him, who is Elon Musk? So the simple fact to recognize that you were not alone in this journey, that you are maybe the CEO, but you've been supported by so many people that you cannot claim alone that you are the inventor of this idea or this idea. I think that, for example, with this, you took the example of this decentralized I could say the whole economy, because the whole economy could be decentralized in some ways. The AI, the decentralized AI, and all of this. Yes, sure. You get out from the model where everything is centralized by a state. Everything is centralized in a bank. Everything is centralized in general. No, it's the same in politics. We came from monarchy to democracy, and now we will come from democracy to participating democracy. And I think this participating democracy is another model of democracy. It's not a model where you have still the state over managing everything. It's a democracy where everybody will have a voice to participate to the mechanism of the state. The people will be the state itself. We will realize more and more the ideal of democracy. And I think that's the new word that is coming. And staying on this idea of property, of genius alone, and all of this, this doesn't help. In 100 years, this will be for our children, great children, something to reflect on. They would say, but how these people could be so short-minded with that?
I'm currently thinking about people who are preparing their own butter. That is something that I definitely buy from the supermarket right now. I'm not standing for hours mixing the milk, but that is probably where our great children will be thinking, oh, you haven't voted over a certain social media for the next president. Really? You didn't? How? Interesting. And if we would actually think about your exposure to, well, being in this space where founders physically sit and work, and at the same time, they are the founders of the characters that you have described, having ethics, having certain willingness to indeed drive big change and big vision. What are the things that you have observed in the daily life? How do they operate? Well, do they have all some special rituals in the morning to manifest?
That's a very interesting question. So we didn't really design the space, right? It's more the community that is doing this. So they start to naturally and organically find their own space where they feel good with the people they like the most, and these kind of things are happening quite naturally. If you don't manage anything, like very fast, you have some problems. Like he forgot his jumper here. What I'm doing, this is the jumper, or where is my cable? And these small problems like this, but that can really affect the whole community, because finally it raises some tension. So we are forced to bring some rules in our space, but we just make these rules when we meet these problems, right? So I would say that this space became very creative because the people, they started to take in charge more and more. So the founders started to take in charge, for example, what we call pod, and these pod are a way to learn with this concept of peers learning. You have a pod with money, for example, and people are sharing how they fundraise, approach angels, to approach VCs. Sometimes we have an expert that is coming also to this conversation, but most of the time they are learning together. And this is managed not by the team of Ethos, it is by the members, by the community, by the startups. They also organize something that I really liked. It's called Lunch and Learn. So every Thursday, they have a lunch, and somebody is explaining what they built, how they built it. Like it can be very technical, it can be in more business way, or more in a philosophical way. So we learn from each other on different subjects, and that's I think very good. I don't know a lot about the technicality of AI. I cannot enter deeply in data and how all of this work. I understand more and more because I am having this discussion with the top people. It's easier and easier for me to understand all these technical aspect, but most of it I learned it with my people. I would say that the best is this fun is coming from this creativity. People likes to do things. And the most recent example that we have, we organized an unconference. Unconference is a model of conference where people are deciding for everything: the agenda, the topic they want to speak about, and what they want to do. And they even decide what they want to do after. So for example, if even as an organizer of this conference, I decide to not follow up, they will follow up by themselves with a group they had during this conference. So that's beauty. This is beautiful. And I think that this way of doing is the future. I really believe that the leadership should be taken by people. So I know what people are thinking. Oh, this guy is a communist. This is in general, people are like, oh, this guy is completely socialist and all of this. I don't think we are anymore about if I am liberal or socialist or anything. I think that when we work with people in collective intelligence, in collaborative intelligence, when we trust in the intelligence of community, you have better results when you have a boss that is trying to lead everybody in the same direction. If the boss is very competent, it's going somewhere. If he's incompetent, he's going nowhere. So I think in general, the community intelligence has more power and more common sense than just leaders dominating the others.
Now you have validated yourself as a communist. I generally can very well grasp what you're describing, and I think that is also very much related to the skill of everyone to be open-minded and also be able to go through the agendas that is non-existent.
Yeah, decide for their agenda. For example, if we start to build together an art project, you really believe in this. I really believe in this. And this is the entrepreneurship thing, right? So we are together. We will add maybe 2 other people. These 2 other people, they are very motivated too. And we will not count our hours. We will start to think together and define our task. I'm good in this. I will work on this, and this. I'm not good in this. Can you do it? And if you cannot do it, can you find a person that is able to do it? This is how it works. And it works 10 times better than if I'm trying to do everything alone.
Yeah. Yeah. So, also important to have leadership skills for that. And leadership skills where you are also having open mind to bring the visions that you are having in your mind through your mouth. And then also the common word would be to inspire, but probably bring just someone on board with you.
Yeah. And being challenged, because being challenged doesn't mean that your authority is questioned. Not at all. When people criticizes you, it's not to hurt you, it's to help you. And sometimes you can disagree, but you have words to disagree. You can discuss hours to come to a position where everybody is happy. And I think it's worth to have this time to all agree on something, to have common grounds, and to change our position, to be able also to change our position when the others are proving you wrong. And sometimes there is not even right or wrong, there is just construction altogether. So I think there is a lot of paradigms that are just like exploding right now. And it's not because we lived with this paradigm that we need to accept them. We can challenge them. And I think that the process of evolution is to be challenged. You need to be challenged, to not be in a comfort zone, and to refuse certainties, to fight certainties. Yeah. That's the poison of life. Nietzsche did say that already. Like, certainties are the poison of life.
You made me think, of course. And if, let's imagine, you are sitting at the table with the person that is saying that, oh yeah, I want to do this and this, but I don't think that I have that big vision. I don't think that I was born for this big thing. I can do my job and that's it. Do you think it is something that the person is born with? Is it that visionaries from your field are generally visionaries because they can't do it differently, or because there was some interesting constellation of circumstances that brought them to that point? What do you think?
That's interesting. So I think nothing is blocked by nature. I think education and culture is doing a lot for human, and I think we are far from what we would be if we were just abandoned in the nature. I have some examples, like you would be in the forest just with animals. You would just try to defend yourself. You would not have even time to reflect on things because you would be always threatened by something. And I'm not inventing anything. Like the philosopher Hobbes say the same thing. That's why we came with the political system. And with this political system, we set some rules. And these rules, even if they constrain us, they make something possible. It's the happiness of most of the people. But it shouldn't be satisfying. We should be satisfied by the happiness of all the people, of everyone. And if somebody would come and say, I don't really care about having an impact on this world. I just want to live my life in my bubble, and this is enough. I would say, sure. And I would not even try to persuade him. I would just say this. But is it not better to, when you will die, to just turn back on what you did and be proud of what you did? If you just stay in your bubble, don't you think that you would have the regret that you just worked for yourself and that nobody will remember you, nothing from what you did? And this person should say, I don't care about this because I think that we're just ashes and we will be gone and somebody will take over and the circle will be the same. And I would say, so, okay, this is a very pessimistic vision of life, but that's a vision of life that you can have. And I would say, so let's agree on this, that the nature, the sense, there is no meaning of the word by itself. So this is maybe our tragedy. There is no preset meaning of life, except if you're a believer and that you think that you have God. But if there is no meaning, or if the meaning is belonging to somebody else above God, for example, or somebody else, an architect or whatever, then it's out of your power anyway. So the only thing that you can do in all of this, in this whole tragedy, is to build your own meaning. And if you do your own meaning for yourself, don't you think that having an action on the world and for the other people would be a greater action than just for yourself? If the answer is yes, do something for the others, with the others, to grow yourself, to make the humanity better. And if it doesn't, that's fine. It's his choice. I will not try to persuade everybody here. But I think, again, that the mix of science, which enable analysis and the way that the word is maybe more understandable. The practice of philosophy that question the word, that question even the science itself. Science really, does science really make our world understandable? Is it not an illusion, again, from the science? All these questions that even redefine science itself, that force science to redefine itself, and that without this, science would be not even science without the philosophy. Without art, that sublime things, a word that make it better, because it is useless. When you create art, it's not really useful. It's useless. And this is maybe the most spiritual task that you can have, is to do something useless, just for your personal growth or for the growth of the others. But it is useless in terms of practicality. And after you have technology that can make things much world more comfortable to live, but it can also make it not just more comfortable, but also a better place to live for everybody. And this is why I always talk about the digital renaissance. AI can make us multi-experts. We can have the strength of 100 people. So I can live all my life as the ADHDer, okay? I can live my life of philosopher, of artist, of entrepreneurship because of AI, because I can simplify my tasks. I can go faster. I can also do it in a better way to understand more myself, or the reaction that I will create with my attitude to different people. So I can be also a better man. I can act more ethically, which was not always the case. Sometimes you are like, oh no, why I did that? I didn't see that my action will have this and this and this impact. But now I can even planify it before. If you use it well, in the right direction, because AI is just a tool, it will not change the world. We will change the world with AI. We can become multi-expert, like Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo, but at another level. And now, again, if we are all augmented, if we flourish better, how it is if each of us collectively, we are augmenting and more expansed and in a better state of flourishing. It means that our humanity itself will be also better. So if we use it well, this new renaissance, this digital renaissance, anchored in the roots of the humanistic values, will create a better world. Yeah, I mean, this is what I believe.
Yeah. And now that we have touched upon the digital renaissance, I think that some listeners would be interested to talk more about that and actually explore the ways how you are applying philosophy and the already existing studies of great thinkers of our humanity to the new trends, to the new developments. If someone would like to talk more about digital renaissance and where the philosophical and ethical considerations can and should bring us with AI applications, how could they reach out to you?
Okay, so it's quite simple. The best way is LinkedIn. I'm super active on LinkedIn. So Jean Arnaud, if you tap Jean Arnaud, Nova, Ethos, and all of this, you should find me. Email, WhatsApp, traditional way to do it. Yeah, LinkedIn is still the best.
I guess it will be easier to catch you on LinkedIn compared to the physical occasions, because each and every time we are talking, you're in a new, different, interesting one, like right now in Albania.
I am right now in Albania. I'm in between Berlin and Tirana and Paris and London. I'm traveling a lot. A little bit less in USA right now, but yes, living in the plane.
Well, the passes definitely can cross.
Okay, so it
Thanks
was
a lot
very
for your
nice.
time.
Yes, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
AI Ketchup brings the news. Tech solutions users can't refuse. Twice a